that talk about progress, better late than never, but progress. And what that has done, because of course, when, I had a bracket, it's not broken completely, but I won't talk about my bracket. But you know what? Just how we love March Madness, and even just now allowing the women to have brackets, and what that does to encourage people to talk more about the women's teams, to watch them. Now they're being covered, and this is the reality. People used to say, "Oh, women's sports, who's interested?" Well, if you can't see it, you won't be. But when you see it, you realize, oh, do you know?
Things are going to start happening to me now.
You've done all the reading. You're a scholar, you're a professor. You've done all the reading. You've done the intellectual heavy lifting.
More or less, eat shit and die.
You wouldn't know a fact if it begged you all night long.
Want to give the wrong impression, because I am very high.
Ran up behind him with a hatchet. Smash, smash, smash.
Yeah. Care. I'm a libertarian. What I'm getting is,
Did you vote for Joe Jorgensen or Trump?
Who?
Joe Jorgensen.
That was the perfect answer. Thank you.
And another Libertarian Podcast Review. We'll call it LPR for now. This is Tyler Yonke, your host. It's a Friday. We're doing Friday Potpourri. Just a smattering of things we'll talk about. But it's going to be kind of the Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens. People are getting freaked out about that. And once again, and then I'm going to talk, maybe I'll start off with some of the comments. And, we had a lot of viewers for the last one that I did kind of on the Dave Smith. And this is similar, and welcome everybody. This is similar, which is I don't really have a side. I'm not a Candace fan. I've enjoyed some of the stuff she's done lately, but much like the Dave Smith in my head, much like the Steven Crowder, Jared, I think that I use those to emphasize or to accentuate problematic areas, either in conservative life, liberal life, family law, the courts that we have. That's really what I was going at with doing the thing last week, and kind of what I'm going to do this week as well. So last week, once again, and I'll go kind of over this real quickly here. Steven Crowder, I would like, once again, if someone, I'm busy, so I just do a podcast here. If someone finds all the family law filings, that would be great. You get those to me. I thought I did a good breakdown of kind of some problems we had with some of their. Okay, these are some comments people had about it afterwards. Not the live show, but a bunch of stuff after the fact. This person, Omara Cortez 9394 said, to be honest, and only being 5 minutes into this video, everything is a good case against U.S. family law. This shit is broke and everyone knows it. Not wrong. I'm giving that a thumbs up, giving it a heart. Not completely wrong. But I thought we talked a little bit about the issue of the family law. And once again, you've got to understand these are, yes, they could be shit. And that's not always my point. And we can talk about correcting them. My point a lot of times is, what do you do since you know this is the system, and how do you either get around it or deal with it? That's part of that there. This guy, Uncle Ruckus, says, you lost me at the unironic use of the word problematic. Every time I hear that word, I'm guaranteed to get a spoonful of bullshit. Okay, well, that your comment is problematic. I don't know if first 8 minutes you said nothing, what a waste. Click. Okay. I'm giving it a heart and a thumbs up. I thought I said a lot of good stuff. Okay. That was from Cookster 155, but that's probably someone who either is full for, and okay, 5 minutes, first 8 minutes, get in there a little bit more. Okay. I talked about some really quality stuff. Is it an hour and a half? Some quality stuff in there. Cookster 155, Hawk 622 said the problem with this is Hillary is not broke, nor is her family. They are loaded. Hillary had a very lucrative career prior to Louder with Crowder hit it big. I don't know how much of that money went into Stephen's business, and if she has assets of her own name, but it is hardly the case where the wife has no money. Once again, I could talk about this again. You have community property, you have separate property. Community property is anything from the date of marriage through the date of separation. Date of separation is whenever you stop living as a married couple, basically. It could be in your own mind, or when you talk to that person, but holding yourself out, and it's an issue that's going to be based on facts. That's going to have to go into that. Now, if she came into the relationship with a bunch of money, and they didn't commingle it, or she had a trust or something, that a prenup maybe that said it wasn't going to be mixed, then that's her separate property. If she took that money and then dumped it into a house as an example, then they sell the house, she gets her down payment back, and then they can split what's rest. Or maybe she put it into the business. We don't know. And I don't know about a lucrative career. That could be as well. Once again, they both have attorneys. They're going to walk this through with the family law in Texas and all the provisions, the statutes, and they're going to figure it out. So I'm not going to go back into all that. I'm just saying, so let's give that a heart and a thumbs up as well. So there you go. So, Shannon's in here. Early Bird Friday special. Yes, and Potpourri by Adam. Welcome, both of you. Okay, I just thought I'd go through some questions or some comments there. If anybody still has some stuff about that, I always want to go over the family law things because I think it's very important to kind of get an understanding. So there you go. Okay. So now we have a few other things. I thought this is important. Once again, the Ben Shapiro, and some guy, I'm over here on Twitter. I mean, I should pull it up again. Some guy named JJ, not JC. He's blowing me up here. He's really got an issue with this Meghan McCain and Ben Dominic and Candace Owens, and he hates Candace. I don't have a problem if you hate Candace. My only thing is and this is what's interesting, and the people that don't like her, and this is Chris Rufio. We've talked about him as well when he went after the Harvard professor who was a complete idiot. The problem with that one was I don't think he cared that she was plagiarizing. He could act like it. That's always the thing that the right likes to do. I'm not of the right. I'm up from the right. I still have a lot of connections there, and I lean more definitely that way. I hate the left as well. But the problem with that is the grift, almost in a sense of you have scare tactics, and you talk about, this was ad nauseum talking about the Harvard issue with this I don't know, president of the college, I think it was at the time there. But she wasn't pushing back against what they perceived, they being Rufio and a bunch of other people in Congress when they were testifying about not having safe spaces and all the other thing on campus. And since they weren't pushing back, they were going to get about what they considered anti-Semitism, tiny hat time. Not necessarily tiny hat time, Shannon. Hang on. It's hypocrisy time. That's what I'm mostly going after. So I think Rufio goes then after Harvard because he doesn't like that aspect. So then you shut things down. There you go. Okay, let's get into some of this. And it really has to do with the Ben Shapiro, and he was really on with Dave Rubin. So we will talk about this. This is 4 minutes, a little bit of an interview here, but I'm going to click it up to 1.25. And
elephant in the room for just a moment, because I saw you this week on Piers Morgan. He asked you repeatedly about Candace. You repeatedly basically said,
I won't talk about that. I'll say that here too.
Yeah.
But now you're going to do 4 minutes talking about Candace.
And that's fine. And, it's interesting because we all sort of came up together to different extents, and we've all done a million things together in public events and networks and all those things. It seems to me that at this moment, she's now a free agent. She happened to end up on Locals, which I created, and we're a platform, not a publisher that you guys are. Can you at least talk to just sort of where it's at now? She's not with you. She's free.
She's free to do whatever she wants to do, to be wherever she wants to be. And the difference between a publisher like the Daily Wire and a platform like Locals is obviously that a platform should have a very broad range of speech that it allows, including speech that maybe even the creators don't believe is inside what they would consider to be the Overton window. It's a very different thing than direct subsidization of particular opinions. So the Daily Wire would not have a host, would not pay a host who was staunchly pro-abortion. It would have no obligation to pay a host who is staunchly pro-abortion. And so when it comes to the hosts on the Daily Wire, obviously everyone is able to say what they want. Nobody ever comes to me and says, you can't say X. Nobody ever says that to Walsh. And no one ever said that to Candace. But the reality is that there is an Overton window at the Daily Wire. Obviously, there was a non-meeting of the minds. That's pretty much all I can say on this. And, a lot of this has happened publicly. But to the extent that the Daily Wire is in fact not a publisher, that is in fact not a platform, it is a publisher, that means that there is no moral.
By the way, I don't know what you mean by down. Can you down pitch Shapiro? Do you mean? And no, I could turn him down the volume a little bit. I do apologize. I put this at 1.25, and then I realized it's Ben Shapiro who talks himself at about 1.5. So apologies, but I want to get through this, and then because I want to just throw it out there.
Obligation for the Daily, and there's no free speech problem with the Daily Wire saying we don't wish to pay a particular host, or that host saying I don't wish to work here anymore, because again, there's a parting of the ways that is not really open for discussion at this point.
Does it surprise you that so many people, even on our side of this, are confused about that as it relates to free speech and quote unquote cancel culture? Like severing a business tie, as long as you're not throwing.
Okay, and I'm going to play some clips of Ben because I think this is the problem. Who's muddied the water here? Why are why is the right, in a sense, kind of up in arms, or not the right, but well, kind of some of those people having issues, and so I think we will. There we go. So we'll talk about it.
Throwing someone in jail, they're able to be everywhere else is not.
I'm not super surprised at the controversy, honestly, because to a certain extent, I think that there's been a reaction on the right to the excesses of the left. So because what the left did is they said that the Overton window ought to be closed so tight that no one can get inside the Overton window. Basically, if you're to the right of Hillary Clinton, you can't be allowed inside the Overton window.
World,
yes, exactly. And not just with regard to platforms, but with regard to publishers. So, for example, this week, NBC News deciding that Ronna McDaniel was too much for them. Ronna McDaniel can't work at NBC News. The sacred halls of NBC News must not be sullied by the former head of the RNC. Jen Psaki, however, can have a show on MSNBC despite being the press secretary for the White House 5 seconds ago. Right? The right's response to that is, I think, correct to say, you guys have shut the Overton window too tight. But I think some elements of the right have basically said there is no Overton window. The Overton window should be completely exploded with regard not just to platforms, with which I kind of agree, but with regard to publishers. So NBC News not only has an obligation to hire Ronna McDaniel, NBC News has the obligation to hire Alex Jones, for example.
Right, which just makes no sense at a business level beyond free speech. I mean, there's a reason that networks exist.
Right, they have editorial positions. Yeah. Daily Wire has a very strong editorial position on a wide variety of issues. And by the way, I should say that there are a lot of people who are suggesting this is about disagreements over Israel. I mean, I can safely say it is not about disagreements over Israel, to the extent that, without reference to Candace at all here, Matt Walsh has taken the position that America ought not be involved in the Middle East at all. Matt Walsh's position, so far as I understand it, and I've talked to him about it, is that Israel, in a conflict between Israel and Hamas, Israel is obviously a more moral party than the genocidal terrorist group Hamas, but also it's very far away. He doesn't.
All right, and I'm sorry, I have to break in here a bit, which is, it's a subtle distinction that gets done all the time, which is, he says Hamas, and he means Hamas, but because he's like, there's a distinction there with Matt Walsh. Well, yeah, there's hardly anybody that can't make that distinction of Hamas, Israel, the people of Palestine. But then you correlate everything that happens that's not Hamas to Hamas. Okay, so you're very generous in that part. Okay.
Karen, it doesn't involve America. That's just a pure isolationist position. I disagree with it. I think it's wrong. I think that it's short-sighted.
So as Candace, as an example, mentioned that she, with the Rabbi Barkley, she's concerned about the kids being murdered or genocided or killed, however you want to put it, even if it's collateral damage, in the war zone in Gaza. Okay? She said that. And then, of course, everyone has to, much like Ben Shapiro, he's like, well, that's Hamas. It's not, though.
But again, he's on our platform that is well within the range of acceptable discourse at the Daily Wire. So the notion that you have to mirror my exact perspectives on what Israel is doing in Gaza is obviously not true, based on the roster of hosts that we currently have. There are a lot of other factors, obviously, at play.
Right.
Okay, so there we go with that. I thought I, though, would bring up real quick, because remember, let's take a look here. This is a Dave Rubin. He wrote a book. It's called, hey, there we go. Where are we at? There we go. It's called Don't Burn This Book. Okay. And then he's like, don't burn this country. So you read about it here, and standing up to the mob against today's absurd PC culture, when differences of opinion can bring relationship, professional or personal, to a sudden end. That's defining classically liberal principles such as individual rights and limited government, because freedom is impossible without them. These guys don't talk about that, and that's the point, that they have built an empire, so to speak, based on this idea of, you can say whatever the fuck you want, and we are good with it, but you can't. And so that's part of the problem you have. Okay. Now I thought I would pull this up, because now we're going to talk about how this kind of came about. Russell's, he did 1.2 million views here, Clint, of this thing. I don't know where he stole it from, because I'm assuming he did. But sorry, we're going to play some more Ben Shapiro, people. You're just going to have to, we'll keep it at normal speed here. A minute and a half.
We have literally tens of millions of people in the United States who are afraid that the cancel culture is coming for them. And cancel culture does exist. Okay, so what this results in very, very often is corporations looking to cram down a particular viewpoint on you and then cancel you. When it comes to the hosts on the Daily Wire, obviously everyone is able to say what they want. But the reality is that there is an Overton window at the Daily Wire. There are polls out there that show that a vast majority of Americans in every single political group, including liberals, feel like they cannot say what they want to say in public because they're afraid that they are going to be canceled, fired, cast out from polite society. This actually happened to a socialist moron named Nathan Robinson. He got canceled from The Guardian. And he said he got canceled from The Guardian because he had put up some anti-Israel tweets. Okay, now I think he's an idiot. I think that his views on Israel are abhorrent. But I don't think that he should lose his columnist slot over at The Guardian.
Why?
It's a different story, obviously, when it comes to any publisher. Any publisher gets to make decisions about what it wishes to purvey and not. He certainly would not defend anybody on the other side who got canceled. In fact, he has repeatedly said cancel culture does not exist. Okay, it does exist. The fact that there are people out there who want you to lose your job for the sin of saying things they don't agree with is extraordinarily real, and it is happening on a moment-by-moment basis. You know, the Daily Wire is a publisher, not a platform. Publishers obviously have to decide what sort of things they wish to pay for the publication of, and when it comes to hosts and publishers, parting ways, obviously there'll be a non-meeting of the minds. That's pretty much all I can say on that. Obviously, there was a non-meeting of the minds. That's pretty much all I can say on this.
There you go. Okay. The point there is that we've gotten, especially in the heightened, and I'm going to go here a little bit further. So what do you have to say? Because there's an Overton window, he says, of acceptable behavior or commentary that I totally get that. I don't want certain people working for me either. But when you build your platform on, we are the people that take Gina Carano in as an example, and you're upset that she got fired from Disney and Star Wars, The Mandalorian specifically, but she gets fired for that for making some commentary, which was kind of on the Jew side, I think. I don't truly remember what it was. I think it was kind of comparing something to, anyway, the Nazis or something. But she did it in a way that's acceptable, at least on that side. But it wasn't acceptable to the Disney folk. So she gets fired there, and they're all up in arms, so they hire her. And then remember the contracts issue, right? We came up with, there's contracts, there's problems with Crowder's contract, there's problems with Daily Wire, and Crowder, his whole thing there was, hey, the problem is you're literally bending the knee to YouTube. Now, I just got a strike on YouTube. Their YouTube sucks, although I appreciate everyone being here on YouTube. Go check us out on Rumble. Should I check the Rumble chat? Maybe it's not coming through. We'll check that out in the next video I do. So the point I'm getting at is that there's these, they're complained about, having to scale or to shape your views if you're on YouTube as an example, and you shouldn't have to be doing that, right? I get it. And they're fine. They're not fine with that, but that's exactly what YouTube is saying. Hey, we have acceptable boundaries. We have our community standards. And if you can't deal with that, then, we're going to just kick you off. And Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro, and they all get we're up in arms about that because you're basically going against conservatives. Okay. And that reminds me. So now we have this, what's her name? Say here. She was on with, let's just say, this is exactly this kind of stuff that Daily Wire would be like all up in arms probably about.
Forget about this stuff. I'm just saying about being true to who we are
100%.
and standing up for what we believe in.
And not lying. No, I totally
I did have to
agree.
lie. I had to lie a lot
Yeah.
about things that I didn't agree with that we were doing on the air.
Like, tell me.
Well,
Orgies.
to not be able to ask specific questions about, when we had athletes all of a sudden collapse, LeBron's son.
Yep.
It's a fair question to ask if he had had the vaccine.
Yes, he's a young man.
Healthiest possible.
Exactly.
That's one example, but to not be able to go there and ask those questions.
They wouldn't let you ask.
Oh, no, and it wasn't just me. It was other pieces that were done on Outside the Lines about it. But to me, I don't care if you're LeBron's son or if you're my neighbor. Like, you're a young man in particular, because there's some science behind that. We don't like the science word now, but there's some science behind that, right? And so if an 18-year-old kid is suddenly collapsing.
Especially a boy. That's right.
Yeah, if I'm his mother, I'm asking, okay, did he collapse because it was raining today versus sunny? Like, any potential reason for this sudden collapse,
variables,
you're going to ask as a journalist. I'm not saying it was the vax because I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
I get it.
But we must ask this question. But those questions were absolutely not allowed, and they were never asked on the
Why
network.
would I mean, I believe you, and I've certainly seen a lot of that working in the media, but you got to wonder about the motive. I mean, why would ESPN want to run cover for Pfizer? Like, why do they care? But they do care so much.
I don't know. Pfizer, Moderna, J&J,
Yeah.
CDC, Fauci, like it goes deep, right?
It goes very deep. It's just
Disney, though. I mean, I think we have to remember
Yeah.
who runs ESPN.
All right. Very interesting little thing there. So that is a situation that I'm sure the Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro would be, yes, all up in arms about and come to the defense. Okay, so Adam Choit, oh, first of all, IL 321 says, I can't imagine Shapiro on helium. Yes. Are there sins in Judaism? And then Shannon Googled it and said there are. Okay. Yeah, Adam said the Gina Carano was comparing the Star of David compared to the Vax Pass. Yes. And he says he also speaks for all Jews. IL 321 said, this is like USSR. Everyone knows it's a lie, but everyone keeps pretending. Yes. Okay. So here's the problem I have. And this came about with Candace and Ben Domenech and Daily Wire and Meghan McCain, because people can't stop accusing others of being racist or anti-Semitic, and it's losing its luster, that stigma. I used to worry about it. I used to care, and I would fall into the lines. I've said this many times. I've used it against people that I didn't like politically because, everything was black and white. It was right and left. Jimmy Carter, bad because he was a Democrat. Reagan comes in. He's good. There you go. Took it over. And Jimmy Carter had written some kind of down the middle things about Israel and Palestine. And I'm like, oh, well, he's obviously an anti-Semite. There you go. Now I don't have to listen to anything he has to say. I don't have to actually look into the details because I've just labeled him an anti-Semite. And once you do that, you no longer have to deal with this situation. We're seeing that even with the Candace Owens, that she came out and talked about Macron, the president of France, that his wife is actually a man. I watched that, and she said, I'm going to base my career on it. And it would have been easier for Daily Wire to kick her out for maybe that. Now, Macron's wife, is it a man? I don't know. There's some definite questions there. First of all, he's French. And second of all, definitely a pedo. This is like a 40-year-old teacher when he was 13, groomed him. Yeah, you could be disgusted all you want there. But the point you do this, that I'm getting at here, is if you call them names, now you don't have to deal with any of their intellectual, maybe they're not even doing the right thing here. And it reminds me so much of the Black Lives Matter, right? We have that where you don't put a black square on your Instagram, you're suddenly a racist, right? Just for a wrong think. But there's so much like that. So here's an Ibram X. Kendi. This is someone, so I don't know if you know who he is, but he wrote stuff on race consciousness and basically is a black supremacist, I would say. Ibram X. Kendi once proposed a constitutional amendment to create an oversight board with veto power over all federal, state, and local policy it determines to be racist. The power to investigate private entities it suspects of racism and authority to monitor public officials for racist sentiments. You have to say, this is insane to be allowed anywhere near public office. You have to say this categorically without reservation or qualification. If any Democrat politicians on here want to assure me they think this is insane, then that would be great. And here's part of the DOA would be responsible for pre-clearing all local, state, and federal public policies to ensure they won't yield racial inequality, monitor these policies, investigate private racist policies when racial inequality surfaces, and monitor public officials for expressions of racist ideas. So obviously you can't do this. This is crazy stuff. But what's the difference between Kristi Noem, and her anti-Semitic, where you could be, and then now Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas. Well, let me go back. Kristi Noem, and we talked about it a few weeks ago. She's trying to pass laws where you can't say you could be basically prosecuted for being anti-Semitic, and it is the most ridiculous standard ever. It's untenable. Greg Abbott now comes out for like Texas universities in Texas trying to have a similar thing. And you're like, the speech codes. I thought we weren't for these kind of things. You're going to, and these groups would go on here and rant and rave about Ibram X. Kendi and black nationalists trying to do the exact same thing. Great, you should. But then you'll do it on your side and you'll kick people out. And it's somewhat crazy. So, okay, let's keep going here. This is, it's a theme today. I said potpourri, but I don't know that it actually is. Patrick Bet-David. And now look, I have a problem with Patrick Bet-David. One is he has the guy on his show that's Adam, I think his name is. He's just a raving lunatic. Patrick Bet-David a few weeks ago went on and on about New York, getting out of business. Do not do business with New York because they're crazy. They're doing da-da-da-da. He's a part owner of the Yankees. Maybe I need to do a show about that. He's a part owner of the New York Yankees in the city of New York, not just the state of New York. I missed it. Okay, anyway, Patrick Bet-David, whatever. It has a little thing here about Andrew Schultz. Let's go.
Rob, if we can pull up this clip from Andrew Schultz. I don't know what all of a sudden happened and prompted Andrew Schultz to say this, but go ahead and play this clip of Andrew Schultz reacting to what happened between Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens.
And by the way, I see Kaiwan Calendar in here has some questions about Crowder. I will get to that in a bit. We talked about him just a little bit up front, but I appreciate you checking in.
Go ahead.
He makes the argument for censorship.
First of all, Andrew Schultz, what the mustache, the shaved side head, the I don't know, is that North Korean jacket? I don't know what's going on with Andrew Schultz, but
calls it something else.
Yeah, I forget the term. I have it in my phone.
But I don't even think he's using the term right. But he's basically like, there's a window of ideas we accept.
Yes.
And we accept ideas between this, I guess this is, if I get window, you're looking like this. So we accept ideas between here and here. And anything outside of that window, well, you're fireable. That's censorship.
What?
But he's acting as if this is like a justified reason for firing people when you built your identity and platform off of no censorship and freedom of speech and facts don't care about your feelings and all this shit.
It's also funny that window happens to end where his beliefs end.
I am
Isn't it interesting?
you would say that.
Not being pro-Israel, that's where the window ends. That's also your specific personal belief.
What?
So I just
okay, but this is a dark fellow. I don't know that I believe him. Now he's almost convincing me that Ben Shapiro might be right, because I think you're coming at it from a racial perspective or religious perspective too. Okay, so we got two warring factions. It will never be solved.
So you can't have an opinion on your platform that is not pro a country that is not ours?
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
It's crazy. I wish.
So is the Daily Wire an American media platform or is it an Israeli media platform? I'm just asking.
This guy's cooking.
I'm just asking. If the rule is, I'm just saying, if the rule is you cannot be critical, because he has no problem being very critical of America.
Yep.
Critical of the left in America. Left is half the country. You have no problem eviscerating half of the country.
That's the current party in power.
But you can't criticize Israel as a country. That's just another country, unless you're saying, and you're clearly admitting, that the Daily Wire is an arm of the Israeli, I guess, media or propaganda machine. Is that? Oof. Are you manipulating the religious right in America? Are you manipulating the right-wing conservatives in America and selling them country western movies and putting on your little cowboy hat and fake moving to Nashville so that you could take all their money and then in the process restricting free speech, one of the core tenets of the American identity? Ben.
Benjamin.
What is...
Okay, I have to jump in here because some people have pointed out, Ben has done it, other people have done it. This isn't a free speech issue unless the government is compelling Ben to kick people off, which we've talked about. Missouri Supreme Court case is exactly what it is, going to Facebook and whatnot. So that's one aspect. Or remember the Twitter files. That's not what we're talking about here. And so Jared, we talked, not gay Jared, we talked about him last week as well. On Caitlin, I'll get to your thing here. Or Kaiwan, I'll get to your thing here. Which... it's not a First Amendment issue either. There is about, anyway, but once the courts start to get in there and say you can't do something, now you would be a First Amendment issue, because now the court is basically involved in the case saying you can't do something. That's the government, blah, blah, blah. But this isn't free speech. So you've got idiots like Schultz who, once again, I don't know what you're wearing or hair is doing. And I think you're a somewhat funny comic, but anyway.
Happening. There's trouble in paradise.
For context, Daily Wire's in Nashville, but he's in Florida. But yeah, what do you think about his point?
I mean, it makes a valid point, but and I sent Rob another video of Ben kind of contradicting himself, but he's 100% right. Like what? And by the way, that's what attracted me to Ben Shapiro in the first place. That dialogue, that everybody say what you want, do what you want. Facts don't care about your feelings. This is a place where you can say anything except that one topic. And we obviously know Ben is 1,000% Israel. We get it. It's no secret. They could do no wrong. And can we play this, Patrick?
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I was pulling up another. Okay. So there we go. Okay. So there's a lot of problems all around. Okay. Let's get to this question here. Do you believe in Crowder? Or no, because Crowder seems like he's lying to me. One, I don't believe in him, anyone other than God. Do I believe Crowder? No, I think Crowder, he's shown to me he's kind of a weasel. But I don't believe his wife necessarily either. These issues are going to get hashed out in court. I'm not a fan of him. I think he's much like the Daily Wire, which is look, if you're going out there and you're, like I said last week, if you're projecting trad lifestyle and you're that's all, your wife's staying at home now and she's doing this, and then you're giving a relationship advice and you're a big piece of shit yourself. Well, when it comes out, I'm just kind of like, I could do without your show. I lost interest in all that. The humor wasn't even funny anymore because you don't have a belief in that person anymore. By the way, I'm doing a deep dive on the Dave Smith show, the part of the problem, and I've gone back in his catalog. He has done the exact opposite, which is he was more of the party guy, single, and you can tell by his commentary, and he's changed, and his morphing and his changing is a lot of it due to his kids, his wife, and his family. So when you see something like that, you go, oh, okay, that makes sense. And I actually, I get like him not running for president. I'm like, yeah, I actually kind of respect you more. I do. It's like, and why? Because you quit for your family. I mean, that seems amazing. So speaking of family, my son is graduating this year from college. Just told me today he already got a job offer. So making a decent amount of money. So pretty happy for him. So kudos to the Jenks. Okay, this other one. Have Caitlin on his shill talking about socialism or Shenko. I don't know what that means. Maybe just clarify that just a tad bit. Crowder was the appetizer. Schultz is ridiculous. He's trying to be like Dr. Phil. Okay. IO says APAC funding private businesses is not the issue. The issue is having a government funded by theft and corruptible lobbies like APAC. I agree with that. So crying free speech is calling someone a Nazi. Possibly. It's utilized incorrectly. Okay. I'm not done with this. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to do one more Shapiro. When do I want to put this one? Let's not do that one quite yet. Okay. So here's the problem you have. Okay. Which is, once again, the name that goes on here. Clint's video went there and it was all about this. And then this is what Ben Domenech. Now, who's Ben Domenech? You look at Ben Domenech. He's the editor at large of The Spectator. He's on Fox News. He's got a Substack called The Transom. I think he had started The Federalist, which was a decent kind of right-ish leaning, kind of libertarian bent to it website. And then he's married to Meghan McCain. That's kind of the big thing there. And I like Ben. He's decent, but this Jew stuff, Israel has just really knocked people off. So he goes, Dave, do you think blood libel isn't a justification for firing? Why? So this is what you do. Once again, I don't necessarily have to like Candace. I don't really care. It's pulling people like this out of the woodwork. That's what's interesting to me. So now you don't have to talk about anything useful. Candace, her questions, and by the way, some of those questions, I'm just asking questions, right? Which she was talking about with Barkley was, do you care? Do you cry when the Palestinian kids are killed? And his thing is, he goes, I cry every day because they have forced me to kill them. Yeah. I had to rape that girl because did you see what she was wearing? And I cry about it every night because I cry that she made me do that to her. So Zach Kincaid says, what's up, Tyler? What's up, Zach? Okay. Once again, this commentary from Ben Domenech is just ridiculous. I'm just going to walk through this here a bit here. Glenn Greenwald says, leaving aside the debate over whether that accurately describes what Candace did or said, the left's defense of what has been commonly called cancel culture is that people should be fired when expressing racist or bigoted ideas. Is there anything wrong with that view? Ben replies. And of course, Toad's down here too, because he's just a troll. This is a bit of a rabbit hole, but I maintain cancel culture is accurately defined as firing or punishing someone who isn't a public figure for statements that in the past would be apology level events, as a random high schooler losing a scholarship over a TikTok N-word. Okay. But it grows from there, Ben Domenech. So not necessarily so. Okay. So while we're there, I've got a few other Ben Domenech items here because I thought it was, let's see if I can find him. This was an interesting one to me. Okay. When he does talk about, let's go here. So this is somewhat related. Megyn Kelly interview with Jeremy Boring exposes him as a hack, a liar, and a vile enabler of anti-Semitism. The lines he deploys in defense of Jew hatred are disgusting, and his attack on whoever this is pathetic, heinous. And then he tags Ben Shapiro because you always got to get your boss in there. Go sell your razors on a corner, you hate enabling piece of shit. We curate ideas. Ah, yes, that's it. That's the ticket. I would publish an interview with someone who has Kanye's stated opinions to get to the bottom of what they're actually thinking. Oh, good. Let's plumb the depths of DEFCON 3. Jeremy Boring describes, who is this person? This other person here. Eli Steinberg, okay, as deceitful and malicious. Then in the next breath claims Candace Owens is clean as a virgin. So, okay, so here's the problem you have. Daily Wire is a bad place to work, and it is notoriously litigious against former employees for a reason. So then he goes after them for that. Okay, all this said and done, last thing he says, it was Owens who insisted on signing an encore of Throw the Jew Down the Well that Daily Wire brass began to think this was not, in fact, a bit. I got a few other bookmarks here, which we'll get to. So anyway, that's the problem you have there, which is once again trashing the person for asking the questions or for doing so, and then there's such a vile person. And this is what's interesting about this part. So I've kind of gone in and when I tweeting and kind of jumping on here, Candace Owens responded because Meghan McCain is going. Anyway, they're going back and forth, and then Ben Domenech basically said, I don't like her personally because she's come after me. So now it's non-blood related because his wife, or blood related, blood libel. I don't know how but you've stretched the definition so far here that if you just don't like someone, then you just don't like someone. Candace then comes back and said that Ben's wife is clinically obese. Which I thought was fantastic. So people are going, I'm fine with going after all the sides here. That's perfectly good. I like to jump in the fray and dig on all of them. That's perfectly fine. But once again, when you're using these words and now you don't have to deal with the questions that they're bringing up, and then anything that's close to Israel related is instantly categorized. Once again, go back to the Ibram X. Kendi, go back to the Black Lives Matter. You know, Candace Owens was doing that back then too. She was questioning. And did you jump on here, Ben Domenech, simply by saying, oh, you're equating a riot with a black family, a black people, therefore she's racist? No, you weren't doing that. You probably would have defended her, except for your fat wife wouldn't have liked it. So you probably didn't in that case. Okay. I've got one other thing here because this is, I think, is important as well. Okay, so we're going here once again. I'm sorry, it's this guy. It's the hat guy, but it's important to. I can't understand. It says problem, then he has an arrow down and it says something society. I mean, I don't know who's writing this for him, but he writes like a child. So anyway,
you blame society. You don't have an answer.
Oh, they blame society.
So it must be conspiracy. There must be some sort, and you're just asking questions. You don't know. Right? This is the game that is played by so many corrupt commentators, just asking questions. I don't have to show you evidence that something terrible is happening. I don't have to actually demonstrate how the thing is happening. I don't have to tell you who the problem is. Wink, wink. But I can just tell you right now that there is a problem. But even and if I'm asked about it, hey, I'm just asking questions. Now, let me tell you something about just asking questions for a second. Just asking questions is a game for children. My son is 7. He can just ask questions. My daughter is 10. She can just ask questions. If you are 50 and you are just asking questions, I don't think you're just asking questions. I think that your level of curiosity is actually quite low. I think that you don't care enough to know or know enough to care. I think that the vast majority of people who are in the just asking questions business have an answer that they want to suggest, but they know there's no evidence for it, so instead they hide behind just asking questions. In other words, they're completely full of shit.
Oh, he bleeped it because he's a brave man there. Not necessarily. I could see where that's happening. But once again, when you simply equate everything to being anti-Semitic or it's a racist problem, every little thing that happens, oh, it's a blood libel, it's this, it's that. Suddenly, the question was that Candace was asking, which I thought was valuable too. Do you care about the Palestinian kids being killed? And if you do, then let's have a conversation about that. Nope. You know what that is? That's blaming society, and that's a conspiracy theory. So those tactics that you're using there, Ben, I think are pretty stupid, and they're not good. Okay, last thing I'm going to get here, because and by the way, you should be able to ask these questions all the time, right? We do that. I do that in law. That's how you get to the bottom of things. So Chris Rufo, I did call him Rufio last time, but maybe he's just a roofer. I don't know. I generally avoid intra-right conflict. But the ongoing Daily Wire Candace Owen dispute is an important moment for the right, which I believe merits comment. First, it's not a violation of free speech to let a multi-million-dollar contract expire, which is reportedly what happened. The Daily Wire is not obligated to subsidize Candace Owens' speech. Well, they are if they're under contract, but yeah, they're not obligated to under the free speech. The Daily Wire, especially if she is deviating from the publication's editorial standard or causing problems for the business. Not necessarily. Depends what her contract said she can do. If the contract said we are not going to put any editorial discretion on you, and then she's fired because they're putting editorial discretion, then she might have a problem. There might be a problem with that. Now, if it's just because the contract's over and they didn't renew it, then yeah, that's so be it. Daily Wire is not an open platform such as YouTube, Facebook, etc., and its owners have a publication are under no obligation to subsidize someone whose trust and friendship they no longer enjoy. I don't know about subsidizing. I mean, paying some, I don't think it's always called subsidizing if you have a contract where they get money and you get money. Owen spent months taking public shots at Shapiro and Jeremy Boring, which is a tacit request to get canned and then play the martyr. Maybe. I don't disagree necessarily that was her ploy. I mentioned that quite a while back. Owens is a gifted speaker, who has been able to turn controversy into attention, a valuable capability, but she does not advance a serious politics. Does not advance a serious politics. I don't know, maybe missaid that one. Okay, does she not? I think the question, what's more in the political sphere right now than Israel, Palestine, Gaza? What is more out there right now? What is more serious than that? And is she pushing that? You think she's just trolling? Then don't say she's a valuable speaker. So I don't necessarily get that. She is clearly traveling down an ugly, but unfortunately well-trodden path. And so he's hinting that she is anti-Semitic. That's literally what that's a dog whistle in and of itself. And I would say if she's traveling down an ugly but unfortunate well-trodden path, is that a racist thing? Is he calling her because she's a black woman? See how we can play these games? Or is it misogynistic because she's a woman? That's how the other side is. His side is literally doing this. She has rationalized Kanye West's anti-Semitic rants. There you go. But that's once again, now it's two black people. So two black people, is this a racist thing? We're saying all blacks don't like Jews. Now you're really, Chris Rufo, you're pushing the racial problems. And I think you're a bigot. Okay. We shouldn't have this. Matter of fact, maybe we should be very concerned about who you're publishing with. And now I don't believe that, but that's exactly what they're doing. Anti-Semitic rants, speculated about Jewish gangs murdering people in Hollywood. Yikes. Get your shit under control, Jews. accused Barry Weiss of being a CIA asset and claimed that Emmanuel Macron's wife is a man. Okay. By the way, that you may say he ends with that last one to really put the shocker, but I'm just telling you, there's probably more proof in that last one than those others. Just thought there's an audience for this kind of material. InfoWars does a robust business in vitamins and emergency prep kits, but it's a political dead end. I don't know. Who do you work for? Let's take a look here. What's Chris Rufo doing? City Journal, Hillsdale, Manhattan Institute. Okay. Why does that matter? Because the right faces an inflection point. There are serious people who are trying to advance a serious political movement with a vision of governing. Dude, you went after the person for the president of Harvard because she wouldn't stand up to Palestinians on campus. So shut up. I consider the Daily Wire to be among them. And there are unserious people who are willing to sell kayfabe and conspiracy leading us nowhere. I care about politics because I believe we are substantive work to do for the country. This requires putting together a coalition that is capable of responsibility. The choice is ours. Blah, blah, blah. More group think. There we go. Okay. That's pretty much where I wanted to end that stuff today. And then we're going to talk about this one other item. I'm going to get out of here because I'm going to go do a happy hour with my wife and friends. I was put on notice that this was a better attorney than me. Is a tranny. By the way, I have an image here that I think we need to compare it to. Let's see if I could do this. Okay. There's that. And then I'm going to... here we go. There we go. That's Janice from the Muppets. That's... Okay, so this is a public. By the way, I don't do criminal stuff anymore because you've got the DAs paid by the state, the judges paid by the state, the public defenders are paid by the state, and you're just up against nothing. We all know that if a female attorney appeared in court in skin-tight leather trousers, a low-cut top, and no bra, and clown makeup, she'd have been fired by the public defender's office for being unprofessional. But this guy's doing it for 12 years. I disagree. I will just say, and this is kind of my own issue. And let's see, because now Toad and Cole are sending me stuff saying better lawyer than Tyler. That's what that's what Cole said. I disagree. And this is what as a man, when you go to court, you have to wear a suit. You have basically you can wear separates type of thing, but you have to wear a suit jacket, pants, a tie, a dress shirt. That's just you're required. COVID happened. I started doing things, Zoom in my office, and one day I didn't have a jacket, and the judge went ballistic on me. Basically you had to treat it just like the courtroom, and I'm supposed to wear a jacket. Women will wear the most crazy shit as attorneys to court. It blows me away, and they'll get away with it because I don't know. There's not a necessary. It's hard to say you're not wearing the right thing. I've seen almost this kind of thing from a female, even though this is clearly a dude. There's one lady that her hair's messed up. She smelled like she's shit herself. No kidding. And I swear she's wearing pajamas. And she's an attorney there, and she will show up in court. So I don't believe that this is necessarily true. But trans public defender with surgically enhanced boobs at Seattle court. That's fantastic. There is a video. So let's play this video here because that's the kind of thing we do.
Okay, let me check on that.
That's just crazy.
So we're talking May 6, 8:45?
Yeah.
That works for me.
All right.
Do I need to sign anything?
No.
Just out of here.
That's crazy.
My comment about my client? Yeah. I just met her. She's really nice. She's really smart. She sounds like she's got the right idea about things. I really support what she's up to, and I think it's fabulous. How about that?
God, she's accused of, what is it, criminal trespass?
In the first degree, yes.
Is she innocent or guilty?
She's innocent, of course.
She's innocent, okay. Well, she's caught on video being arrested and protesting and allegedly protesting. So I'm trying to get all sides. So
my client has pled not guilty. My name is Stephanie Mueller. I'm in the directory for the Washington State Bar Association. You can look me up.
Okay. Stephanie, thank you for your time. At this point, your client is being arraigned, though.
It's all just happened. Her hearing is over.
Got it.
It's done.
All right. Do you know when her next court date is?
I do.
I'd like to maybe just keep tabs if they're.
This guy wants peace.
I think that's a great idea.
Could you tell me when that is?
No.
Oh,
Take care.
Thank you, Stephanie.
That's insane. Did you see those nipples? Isn't he just doing his job? And people get mad at yeah, okay, so look. Wait, who got Cole in the Tower Gang divorce? I'm sorry, I'm going with Liz. So, just throwing that out there. I think she makes the money. And she's likely the abuser. So I usually go with that side. Deschutes, alcohol free, right? I'm actually doing that. Why not? Okay, this person is got a law license. They're obviously mentally deranged, right? Would you want that? And by the way, I've seen worse looking public defenders. So there's not past the bar. Obviously, there's a mental problem there. I mean, who would not wear pasties if your nipples are going to be out like that? I mean, that's insanity. That's insanity. How did those get through security? He's a professional troll, likely, but those look like surgically enhanced. How far are you talking about Cole, or are you talking about the guy? I'm sure you have in your state. Yeah, but you know what? I mean, I'm not in a ridiculous county. I mean, I'm in Sacramento County, Placer, Yolo, El Dorado County. Those are kind of the ones that, and some of those are, Placer's quite conservative. I'm just saying, and maybe I haven't seen this standard. I imagine this is like a no-brainer. You just check that out in, The Voice. Stephanie. Yeah, let's do it. Crazy stuff. I think we'll get about done here. I think I just wanted to have more of a fun time. This is what else I was going to do. Danny Masterson, he has a rape case. There's some interesting things about that. There was also this heist down in Southern California, $30 million. I thought that looked interesting. But some of you guys do this too. If there's some things you want to talk about next week, let me know. I've been trying to I want to do some more podcasts and do a few little things. So today was a little clippy, which I enjoyed, but I really did enjoy doing the legal stuff. So if we're ever, back in the Crowder situation, I mean, I got a lot of downloads for me. So that was solid. So I appreciate everyone bringing along with that. Liz did nothing wrong. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, just looking at the two, this person, is the public defender saying the client's, innocent. Obviously, what are you going to do? I mean, even if it doesn't look like that, you're going to say the same exact thing. So there wasn't necessarily anything wrong with it. It's just this person's a clown. But, if you look at Liz and you look at Cole and you go, okay, well, first of all, I mean, come on. You just got to go with Liz. But Cole's my guy too. I appreciate him. There we go. So what's going on this weekend? Well, by the way, I'm going to give you a quick update here. World of Cycling, number 1, 3, and 4 in the world riders all crashed, breaking ribs, lungs, contusions. It's a bad situation. So we're looking back. Tyler is trying to say he doesn't participate in night court. I might participate in night court. No, I don't participate in night court. Have a good weekend, everybody. Next week, we'll definitely be doing a show. My wife's going to be in Cabo for her sister's wedding. So I will be doing some shows. Maybe send me some links if there's some cases or things you want to talk about. Until then, have a good one.
Okay, I'm leaving now. Bye, guys.
But she's back.
And now.
Chick-fil-A is completely overrated. It's not that good. I prefer Zaxby's. I prefer Popeyes.
Takes a tough man to make a tender forecast, Nick. And I guess that's me. Keep fucking that chicken.
Should I vote for Dick Cheney on the Libertarian Party? Do I have an obligation to vote for Dick Cheney?
I would say so.
Yes.
Did it work for those people?
No, it never does. I mean, these people somehow delude themselves into thinking it might, but it might work for us.
That one dude was like, not a podcast. I can't find it anywhere, and they don't have video.
Oh, yeah, Peter Janke. Yeah.
Yeah, I blocked him.
I'll do it. If he unblocks me, I'll...
He'll buy your shirt if you unblock him, Bert.
He's a wigger.
Yeah, nothing cooler than
So
a
he's-
49-year-old
he
woman.
was-
I just started live streaming. Cut me some slack. I'm pretty high tech for a boomer. But
For
anyways,
a boomer.